funny he got traded. He was in the Sharks organization, kind of doing the same thing as me. We were kind of back and forth, going up and down, and gotcha.
Young buck.
Yep.
Sometimes I feel old, but
Oh, you're young.
Yeah. So Araya played some high level hockey, so his body's.
Yeah.
I'm 37. I just turned 37. You're 31.
31. Yep.
I think his body's probably in worse shape than mine.
That's for sure.
you're beat up. I feel like that's what I'm gonna be like. I'm already feeling it.
Yeah. Wait till you're 30.
I know. Hopefully it goes by slow.
Yeah.
It will.
Well, let's kick this thing off. It's 1 o'clock, so a lot of people will be jumping on live with us, and then we also record this too because we have closing in on like almost 100 kids in this program, this No Athlete Left Behind curriculum, and so he's been training them up on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. They do a strength workout, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays they do some speed work. And then Saturday's kind of like watch a inspirational movie. Make sure you, then they have like a take-home message from it. And we're reading Chop Wood, Carry Water. Maybe you've read that book before. And then Sundays are exploring faith, leadership, where we have a special guest like you come on. And it's just been, we've been having some really good feedback from everybody that's a part of it. So it's been fun. And we've just been having to be kind of innovative and creative amongst all this Corona stuff. And I'm sure you've maybe had to do the same. Maybe the first question is like, how are you guys dealing? Like, so you're with the Orioles, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So what are they doing? Are they using technology to do things, or they kind of just leave you to yourself to figure it out, or how's that all going?
I think they're kind of all doing it a little bit on the fly. We have Zoom conversations like this where they'll bring like all the infielders in. We have like book club meetings where.
I guess you didn't do anything.
It was Connie because I didn't get how to do
You
it.
didn't do one thing, I bet.
Hey, make sure you mute yourself, everybody.
Anyway, basically, yeah, they have Zoom conversations. We have like yoga, that things will happen with yoga and some stuff like that. We get online workouts through this Bridge app. And you have to like log in and basically do your nutrition. They make you do a lot of things. I think a lot of it is not necessarily, it's more of to keep you busy. I think more than anything, you don't have to do all of it. You're not going to get punished for not putting in what you ate for breakfast. But I think it's just to kind of stay on top of things and give you the opportunities to do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, kind of like I was a strength coach in minor league baseball, and you put all the things there for the people that take it, for the players to take advantage of it, but it's always seems like every level it's a filtering process of who's going to do the little things to stay around and make it to the next level, and then there's always the people that don't, and they usually don't stick around very long, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly. I figured you can figure it out first day of spring training who did something in the off season and who didn't. We do beep tests now, so we'll do like a running beep test, and there's some guys that look like they didn't get off the couch. I mean, you don't even have to do a lot of running. You can just do a little bit, and you can go out there and do a beep test fine. But no, you definitely can see some separation. This is when it's going to be a little bit different, just because if you have money, you can buy a weight. You can buy a weight room. If you have money, there's certain aspects where if you have money, you can, like, I'm friends with people who have money, so they can go and they bought, barbells, a whole dumbbell set. They buy all this stuff. So then it's like, well, I have my own weight room. I can go lift. I can do whatever I want. Meanwhile, I'm in here. I got 60-pound sandbags that I'm putting over my shoulder and squatting with because I can't do anything like that. I got 4x4s that I'm squatting with, and
That's awesome.
Yeah, but you're figuring it out, man.
Yeah.
You're Rocky IV training montage, man.
I feel like sometimes.
Yeah. Building character. I love it. That's awesome.
Oh, well, so let's kind of start at the beginning, man. We know very little about you other than I did a quick Google search and our friend Jill, our mutual friend Jill, has sung your praises, says you're just an amazing man, first and foremost. And then obviously you're a great ball player. So kind of take us through, just take as long as you want to catch us up to speed to now, of your story, some of your challenges, maybe if you've had them. I'm sure you have. No one hasn't that hasn't made it to your level. And what your mission is and what your goals are from here on out.
All right. Shoot, where should I start? I guess I'll start in high school. I'll skip all the travel ball stuff. I was in high school. I went to I mean, we had probably 400 kids in my graduating class, so pretty big. We were a really good baseball school, really good basketball school. My junior year, I wanted to focus on baseball, I think, from the get-go. My parents and I kind of came to that agreement. And then my junior year, I had a monster. I knew it was a big year for me. That's when you get recruited. And I had a monster. I had like 564 average with like 8 homers and 15 doubles or something. And I mean, I had an all-state caliber year, and I didn't get recognized at all. I got all conference and like all area, and that was about it. I got no scholarships out of it. And then my senior year, like really late my senior year, actually, I was full on going to go to ICC, my junior college, to go to nursing school, start my career. And the junior college coach called me and was like, hey, if you want to come and play baseball, like, we'll give you a scholarship to come play. You just have to put your nursing on hold for a minute. And I was like, well, I might as well, like I wanted to play baseball at college level and felt like I could. So I got there. I had a decent senior year, and I went there my freshman year. And from the get-go, my JUCO coach me and him have a really, really, really good relationship. He was all over me. He knew how to get in my head. He knew how to make me a better player. I was a guy where if you sit and you yell at me and you tell me, like, not belittle me, but you tell me that, I'm not giving you my 100%, it's going to get me mad. It's going to make me play harder. And he knew it. He'd stay on the line with me, and he'd yell at me while I was playing catch if I didn't throw the ball as hard as I could. There was a lot of things that I got told. I got told I was like a front foot hitter. That's why I didn't get recruited, or I didn't have the arm strength and all this stuff. And so he knew that, me coming in, and he knew that I wanted to play. And so he really, really pushed me right from the get-go. He would tell me I wasn't a shortstop every day. He was like, the shortstop before me played at Division I at NIU. And he was like, you're not my shortstop. My shortstop's up in DeKalb playing for the Huskies. And that just I got under my skin big time. My freshman year, I was All-American at my junior college. I don't know my stat line or anything, but I had a pretty good year. I was player of the year in the conference, and then still didn't have anything, no scholarships or nothing.
Wow.
And then went into my sophomore year, and there was a fall showcase in Indiana, and I went off. I went like 9 for 10 with like 4 doubles and a triple, and I made some crazy plays in like 3 games. And then I had 42 calls afterwards for different schools. But it was previously, or I guess it was that year. Yeah. So I had 42 calls. So then I had like a bunch of decisions to make. It went from nothing to a whole lot. And as I was overwhelmed, but I was grateful that I was able to, I can keep playing. That was the biggest thing for me. And I ended up having it narrowed down between Michigan State and Iowa. And I just kind of clicked with Iowa, and I went there, signed, committed, whatever the paperwork would be. And then I was an All-American my sophomore year. And then I got one of my coaches. So this is where the Northwoods League starts. One of my coaches, my freshman year, got placed, Coach Lewis, who is still the coach up there, got placed up there. So I got my foot in the door my first year in the Northwoods as a temporary guy. I was like a 10-day contract guy. Came up there, met the Welches. They were my host family. Stayed with them, and yeah, for the first like 8 or 10 games, I was playing really, really well. And then everybody was talking about how I was on pace to beat the hit record, and that stood for 20 something years and all this stuff. And it was only 10 games in. And then luckily for me, there was actually a kid, I remember specifically, Tyler Stover, played at Louisiana, Lafayette, I think. I can't remember but he actually failed a math class. And so he went in and said like, hey, I want to give my full contract to Mason. He deserves it, blah, blah, blah. So then I ended up getting the call. I remember I was at either Jack or Joey's baseball game or something. I was taking him somewhere, school or something. And then I got that call and they told me that. And
Wow.
yeah, so and then on, fast forward, I was MVP of the league. I broke 3 records that stood for like 20 years. I had a couple free agent contracts to go play professionally that summer. So that 1 year really kind of changed everything for me, getting my foot in the door. And I still talk to Tyler and tell him how grateful I was for that, for him giving me that full contract. Big time. Definitely changed my life. But yeah, then I ended up turning down the contracts because they told me I had a national cross checker come, and he kind of told me like we project you as a top 10 round guy. So I was like, well, if they're telling me that now as a sophomore, going to be a junior, like, well, I can only improve, and so maybe I'll get more money. So I said no. Went to Iowa my junior year, and I'm not going to bash or I'm not going to say anything negative about Iowa, but my experience there was not very well. Not the way I anticipated it being. I kind of got shortchanged. I had to play third base the whole year. And the coach didn't have a very good relationship. Anyway, draft came around and I didn't get drafted. I didn't have a bad year. I think I had 1 error the entire year, maybe 0 at third. Hit like 295 or something. Still didn't get drafted. And it kind of put the chip back on my shoulder. I was very, very angry. I remember finding out actually in Thunder Bay, Canada, when the draft was going on, that I didn't get drafted. And Papadopoulos, the broadcaster, came down and sat by me and kind of told me like, you know, you're one of the best players to play in this league in a long time. Like, you just need to stay true to yourself and like things will work out. It was hard to see at that time, just because, you know, I lost out on a lot of money for one, but 2, it's like, well, now if I don't perform this year, now maybe I'm not going to get the chance to play professional baseball. But needless to say, I got to go back to Iowa. I got to play shortstop. Our team was actually really, really good. And we ended up making it to a regional championship. Regional championship. We lost to Texas A&M. Anyway, I came back that summer of my senior year to play in the woods again, and ended up getting drafted. Or maybe it was I can't remember. Ended up getting drafted in the 6th round, pick 188 to the Baltimore. They called me in the 3rd. I remember that phone call that day. They called me and they're like, hey, I think we're going to take you sometime today. And I was like, what? The second day, I thought, you know, senior sign late,
Right.
30s or something. And they ended up taking me in the 6th. The guy who drafted me called me, my scout, and I'm still like in really, really good contact with him. He was all emotional after all my the years that I've had, how proud he was of me. And just seeing like that, I guess it made a lot of scouts mad that I was mad about the draft, because I basically told them that I think that they messed up. But I think it kind of helped me with my career, is not settling, not getting comfortable. I never looked too far, I guess, into the future. Like, you know, I had a really good year. Like, maybe next year I'll play in the big leagues or something like that. I'm always grounded to the fact that I'm focused on the now and not the future. But fast forward now, I played 1, 2, 3 years professionally. I was a big league camp invite this year with the Orioles before all this stuff happened, and yeah.
So is big league camp canceled now? What's the status? Do you know even?
I got there February 15th. We had, I don't remember when I got sent home, March 6th or something, 7th. I was there the whole time, and then I went down for minor league camp for the last day, and then they told me that, you know, we were all going home. So I have no idea up to this point. As far as I know, we're just playing it by day. I've been told June, I've been told July, I've been told if we do play that no fans are able to come to the games, and there's a lot of things being thrown around there, so it's kind of hard to decipher what's real and what's not.
Oh, wow, man.
Man, that has got to be tough.
Oh,
Yeah.
because this is your first invite to big league camp, right?
Yeah. Last year I started off. I played short season A my first year, and then I was a Double-A call-up for playoffs, and then my next year I started in low A. didn't start off the best. So I spent all year there. And then last year I was in high A for like 3 weeks, and I got called up to AA and played the rest AA. So
Okay.
yeah, this is my first actual big league spring training invite.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I don't know if so I played some minor hockey, major hockey, but talk about, I would imagine it's the same. It's a grind, right? Like
Yeah.
the travel, playing, back to backs. Talk a little bit about the grind that minors is, and because people don't know, people don't see that. They see the MLB, they see the lavish life. They don't see guys in the minors grinding to try to get there. So talk a little bit about how the last 3 years have been for you.
Definitely eye-opening. You get my short season A, just to put things in perspective, I guess, short season A, I got about $300 every 2 weeks. And of that $300, I still had to pay clubhouse dues, which is the guy who washes your uniform and gets you food. Well, if he washes your uniform but feeds you peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you still have to pay him that $10 every day. So it's like that $300 that you get for every 2 weeks, really $140 of it is going to the clubbies. Sorry, my wife just walked down here.
That's okay.
And then you have things on top of it, like either you're living with a host family or you're going to have to try to pay for separate living. And then on top of it, you're traveling every single day. So food on top of it. So that first year, you definitely lose money. Even the second year, you're losing money unless you're really, really smart with it. So from that aspect, yes, it's very hard. I lost my first full season, which is 140 games. I lost about 17 pounds from start to finish, and it was all muscle. Because it wasn't that I'm not a big, like, I work out in the off season a ton, but then during season I'll lift like once or twice, maybe a week.
Yeah.
But I couldn't eat. I didn't get the food. A peanut butter and jelly sandwich isn't going to suffice for my body to what it needs to do to recover.
Yeah.
And I don't have the money to go buy steak and broccoli every night or something. That was something that really was very, very difficult. And on top of that, you don't get paid in the off season. So I got to find ways to make money in the off season as well. Whether that's like this year, I woke up at 4 a.m. and snow blow driveways or sidewalks at schools to make some money, because it's like, I got to make money somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the biggest things, is that money issue. I feel like if I was a big signing bonus baby or something, it would be a little different, because I could have some money to eat well, or I could spend that money on a nice place to live instead of, grinding in somebody's basement.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some really good host families. I've had some really bad ones. But once you get up to AA, it's crazy. I feel like I'm pampered almost. And it's not pampered, but you feel pampered because, instead of having to load all your stuff onto the bus, someone does it for you. And you're like, oh my gosh, what? Someone's putting my stuff on the bus. Instead of peanut butter and jelly, I'm getting deli sandwich meat and cheese. Like, it's a step up, but in all aspects of it, it's not. But yeah, it is a grind. You definitely have to love the game. That's what I've come to find out. If you don't love the game, it's going to abuse you. It's going to be miserable for you.
Yep. No, yeah. Thanks for sharing that, because, I know it's a grind. The mental toughness that you have to have to get through that and to power through it and to go back and do it again. It's crazy. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, for sure.
It's almost, as I'm listening, I'm like, it's kind of almost fitting. I mean, I hope that comes across the right way. You hearing your story of like kind of not having the best draft experience, and then having kind of a shaky relationship with your Iowa coach, and not having things go your way that first your junior year. Was it your junior year?
Yeah.
And then you get into the minors and you realize you got to really, you're not pampered. You got to grind. You got to go prove yourself all over again. But it sounds like something that you've grown accustomed to. And it's guys that do those things are the ones that are in your position, right? I mean, how many guys would you say when you came into when you got drafted and that class of athletes that you came in with, how many of them were exceptionally talented that are no longer playing because they're not willing to grind?
A lot. There's a lot of players. I mean, we had my first year, there was a second round draft pick that was a couple years before me that they ended up cutting that year because he didn't work. He thought it was all going to come. He thought, oh, I'm a second rounder. Like, I'm just going to get there. There's definitely that aspect of there's players that come in that, I mean, there's guys that are in my class, especially, that had the talent but didn't work or thought it was just going to come to them. Now, granted, there are some guys that, you have your first round guys we have, our left-handed pitcher that throws 100. Now he's probably going to get some good opportunities if he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of has. Sorry.
He's got a little longer leash. Yeah.
Yes, he does. And there's guys like that talent level is that's there, and they're going to get those opportunities. But it doesn't, if you're not going to work, if you're not going to put forth that effort, because it's not only just about performance, but it's like if I throw 100 and I'm not staying healthy or I'm not eating right, my arm's going to shoot out. I mean, that's one thing, knock on wood, that I've taken care of is my body. And I hate sitting out. My coaches know I hate sitting out, because if I sit out for 2 games and that shortstop that comes in hits 3 homers, you think I'm going to see the field? No, I'm not. I'm a senior side grinder that literally I'm just trying to get the job done no matter what. I don't throw 100 across the diamond. I don't hit 40 homers, but I'm going to go out there and I'm going to outwork whoever's playing shortstop. And that's something that I've kind of really took pride on and I got into it with, I shouldn't say I got into it, but then we have all new coaches that came into the Orioles organization rebuilding. We got all these new coaches and everyone's trying to figure everybody out. And the infield coach is like asking me about my mindset. And I was like, when I go out on that field, when we go out to practice, like, I am not friends with any of those players that are at shortstop with me or at second base, whether they're on my team or not. I'm not, like, at that day, I'm trying to beat every single one of them. And I get, people be like, quit throwing the ball hard across the diamond, like, let it ease, you're going to hurt your arm. Like, no, I'm trying to throw the ball hard across diamond on the field. I'm just trying to be, that's how I'm going to get better. I'm not, I wasn't gifted with the homer ability or all that stuff. I was gifted with the ability to work hard and the ability to, which is something that everybody can control, and the ability to be smart. And I was smart about how I play. And that's something that I've did every single day from practice on, whether it's playing games against the shortstop that's out there or, just trying to compete even against my own team. And they didn't like that. They were like, you should try to work with your team. I was like, no, because they're trying to take my job. You paid him $2 million.
Yeah.
I'm trying to take his job. That's something I feel like really, really elevated my game for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's tough. I mean, I played ball in college and I remember kind of having that same feeling, like there was no position security at all, which on one hand, like you said, if the dude comes in and has a good game, your playing time got taken away. So it created this dynamic where you were kind of, always competing against your teammate and almost kind of sometimes like, man, I really hope he goes 0 for today. He gets in, yeah, I hope he goes 0 for 4 and strikes out 3 times. He gets the sombrero, man. But and I wish it wasn't like that. I wish I could be like cheering for my boy because he's on my team. But I mean, when you start to get into higher level sports, it's just kind of the way it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, that's something that I've struggled with, because you never want to, you hate to be that. No one likes that guy who's like on the bench sitting there wishing he was playing. You're like, God, I wish this guy could, 0 for 5. Strike out here. Strike out in a big situation. Oh, I want you to strike out, so they put me in. No one wants to be that guy, and I think the hardest part about that is doing it the right way. Like, you want that teammate to exceed. The end goal is to win the game. I mean, it doesn't really matter how you do it, whether it's a squeeze, whether it's a pass ball strike 3. As long as you win the game, you're winning the game. That's the most important part. But what I've tried to do is I've tried to, if I have a shortstop out there and, he's 2 for 3 with a double, I'm not trying to hope that he gets out, but I'm trying to tell myself, all you need is a base hit in the bag. Like, you're trying to beat him in however he's playing, you're just trying to outbeat him. Not wishing anything negative upon him, not wishing any, you know, I'm just trying to outplay him so that I can get that playing time. My first year in short season, I didn't start. Like I got to short season A and I did not play. We had a prospect playing short. I didn't play for the longest time. And then he got the yips, couldn't throw to first base. And then I got an opportunity. And the only thing I kept thinking about was like, just don't mess up this opportunity. Do something positive every single day. And I found myself doing more and more and more things positively. And then I was on the team the whole year and was an all-star. And but coming from, you know, I didn't play for the first week of the season. And then I was playing once every week. It just went back to not wishing anything ill will upon him, but me focused on just trying to outbeat him, outplay him.
Yeah.
That kind of helped me, I guess, with the competitive part of it.
Yeah, I think that creates an environment where guys are battling, you know. I remember, you know, guys in my position, we'd go to practice and it was an absolute war. You know, you're doing everything you can to just get that little bit of edge and get in the lineup, whatever it may be. So you talked about, you know, through your story, you had coaches or certain people in your life that, you know, knew how to motivate you. Talk about how important those people are, and maybe you still talk to those coaches to this day. I know I have a couple in my life that, you know, made a massive impact, wouldn't have made it without them. Just talk about how important those people are as you go through like this journey.
I guess my parents were the first person that they knew how obviously they're my parents. They knew how I could get better, and they were really, really hard on me, which in turn makes me hard on myself, which I felt like that kind of set the tone for the coaches, how I'm going to be more coachable. And then when I got to high school, I guess the main coach was my basketball coach, because he was like, his name was Kevin Brown. He was this big, tough guy that, you know, players quit because they didn't want to play for him. That's how hard he was. And I got there, and it was every bit of what everybody was talking about. It was the hard. I started my sophomore, junior, and senior year, and all 3 years it was horrible. I say horrible because he would be all over, like he would be all like breaking you down to the point where there's nothing left. But then, like, everybody knew he loved you. Like he was there for you no matter what. He was just trying to break you down and then build you back up. And he would pull me out of the game, and I was like the defender, point guard. He'd sit me down on the bench, and he would come up to me and he'd get in my face and he'd look at me. He goes, "You're letting every single one of your teammates down. You're being so selfish." And I would sit there and it would just eat me alive, because he knew by saying that, because he knew the kind of player I was, he knew by saying that I was going to go in there and I was going to, because I'm not giving my full worth that. I'm not giving my full percentage that I could be given. And he knew that. And I'd get in there and I'd play 100 times better. And there was some people that couldn't handle that. There was some people that didn't work that way. And I think that was the biggest thing that I saw as the coaches that I've dealt with, was being able to adapt to those different ways, different players, different coaches. That was what changed me. When I went to Iowa, again, like, me and him didn't have the best relationship, but my junior college coach and I had a great relationship because he knew how I worked. He knew what I needed in order to be better. And then, I mean, that's just one of the biggest things I think that really changed me, was that finding out how you work. If you're a guy who needs to get yelled at to play better, and you know that, you have to at least accept that and be willing to say, okay, look, he's yelling at me because he knows I'm going to work harder. There's some guys you can't do that. We had a kid on our team who you had to give him confidence because he didn't have any. So you can't sit and yell at him because he would play 10 times worse.
Mm-hmm.
But understanding this is a guy I need to give him, hey, you're doing this really, really well. Let's build off that. And then all of a sudden he's playing better. That's something that I've kind of dealt with. I've seen so many different coaches and they told me so many different things. And that's something that I kind of found a part of myself. And then you got to be able to put that, I guess, you got to be able to do that to yourself.
Yep.
You got to be your own coach. That's what I've been told. Be your own coach. That's how you become a better player, a better person, on and off the field. That's what I try to do.
Yeah, that's awesome, because, you know, I feel like when you get to the pro level, you got to do more of that yourself. You know, the coaches are a little more hands off, or at least they were in my world. They were a little more hands off. You kind of had to figure things out yourself. But those great coaches at the college level or the junior level, whatever it may be, yeah, they know how their guys work. It's crazy. So those coaches and those people that help you out along the way are just like incredible people, and yeah, just really goes a long way in somebody's career.
I agree.
So are you pretty intrinsically motivated, Mason? Like, does if you can think back to like, so a lot of the athletes in this program right now are probably it varies from what, 8 years old to 18.
Yeah, 18.
There might even be an older. There might be a college kid in here now too. Actually, we have a D1 baseball player joining here pretty soon.
Nice.
But do you remember having to be told to do things, or did you kind of go? Were you a hardworking kid naturally? And to add on to that question, you said you take care of your body. Has that always been something you've done, or is it since you become a pro, or is it something that you had to do? Because I guess I don't know what your stature is. If you're a big guy, if you're kind of a smaller frame guy that's got to grind. Well, you were a point guard, so that gives me a little bit of intel. So like, have you been a weight room guy ever since high school? And have you found that to be super beneficial to your development as an athlete?
I guess I'll answer the first question. When I was young, there wasn't video games. So it's different. It's like a different era. So yeah, I was outside all the time, wiffle ball, basketball, whatever it may be. I was outside running around, probably causing trouble, but I was out there doing stuff. And I think from the get-go, at least as far back as I can remember, is like I wanted to be the best at everything. Never took it easy on anybody because I wanted to be the guy. I wanted to be the first pick in recess. I wanted to be the number one guy in every room I walked in. I wanted to be the best person, best player. And so as far as I can remember, that's how it was. And I think that goes back to my parents and how they raised me. They didn't want me to settle for anything. Never. My dad never took it easy on me, anything. My mom for sure didn't. So I guess from the get-go, I think that's how it was, and it carried over. Again, that's just how I'm embedded. I want to be the best at everything. I mean, I can't do anything right now, so I'm like learning how to do woodworking. So I like made a bar and all this stuff just because I want to do something productive. I want to do something to better myself as a person. So I guess that goes back to that question. What was the second question was about?
Yeah, like you said, you've always kind of treated your body well. So like from have you been a weight room guy? What have you seen from, I don't know when that happened for you. You haven't answered the question yet, and when you have you noticed your athleticism just, I guess, advance, get exponentially better because you are doing those things?
I think I didn't lift till I was in high school. Mostly because I didn't know how really. Yeah. And there wasn't anything around me, and I wasn't going to pay the money because we didn't have the money to do that. But once I got into high school, basketball season, I played 3 sports all the time. So it was kind of hard to, thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, I got 2 concussions in football, and then I decided I was going to go play soccer instead, which transformed my career, by the way. Soccer was unbelievable. Anyway, I started lifting for basketball season, and I like getting cut up. I thought that was the you're in high school, you're all kind of cut up and muscles are hanging out, and I kind of like that. And then once I got to my JUCO, it took off. We did 6 a.m. workouts for 6 weeks, and we do barrels where we do sprints, and it was like a race, super competitive. 6 fastest kids on the team would run sprints, and there was shoving and elbows and all that stuff. And we had meat grinder Mondays where you would pretty much throw up every Monday. And that's where my physique, I guess my muscle index went like through the roof. I got a lot stronger, and I felt like my game. That's where like my arm strength started coming around. That's when I started getting faster. That's when I started hitting more homers. I became more agile. I was always pretty athletic, but I think that adding those lifts, I became more flexible. I'm still not like super flexible, but compared to what I was, um, way, way, way better. And then when I got to Iowa, it was more flexibility stuff. We didn't do we still did a lot, like some throwing some weight around, but it wasn't as like, I don't know if you've ever been in JUCO weight room, but it's like grinders are in there. Like it's grinders. So that was pretty sweet. And then once I got to pro ball, it's way different. There's 200 players trying to lift in a weight room in spring training. But when in the off season, that's kind of where I felt like I really get my work in. And I've tried to implement like new and different techniques. It's hard to do. I don't want to do the same thing every single time for, the whole 4 months that I'm here. I don't want to do the same 4 things, because then I want to try to, I guess, test my boundaries, test myself in certain aspects. And I find certain things I'm not good at. So then obviously being myself, I try to be like the best at it. Mm-hmm. So like if I have really bad core, I'm going to try my best effort to try to get my core to be the best that I can possibly be. Which I just felt, and I felt like it held my body up a lot more. I wasn't so tired. After you've been a while and you work out and you throw some weight around, and then like 2 days later, like you can't walk. Or, like you're like throwing your arm up on your back to wash your back. And but after you like grind through that and you start getting acclimated to it, you don't get sore anymore, and you can continue to do it. And then all of a sudden you go play 140 games, and you might get sore every once in a while. Like those first 2 weeks of the season, I'm really sore, but then after that, it's like my body's there. My body's used to it. But I roll out, foam roll. I don't know if you guys do foam rolling. I foam roll. I have one of those massage guns. I don't know, hypervolt massage guns. Unbelievable. Like best I've ever done. Unbelievable. Gosh. And I do that. And I just try to do movement a lot. I do a lot of hip mobility now than I never did hip mobility before. But I always get really tight hip flexors, and my back will get really, really tight because my hips are so tight. Mm-hmm. So I do a lot of hip stuff now, and I've realized like my back pain is gone. My hips don't get so much tight. I feel like I can go out when I hit, like I can release everything so much quicker. But now my body just feels way better, as opposed to I do know players who don't. Obviously, there's always those players that don't lift or don't run and don't do anything, and then it's game like 55, and they're like showing up the field 2 minutes before we're supposed to be there and sitting there eating or something like that. And then they're the kids who, they hit June or July and they're starting to hit $150 because their body's just not there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tell you what, like that's something we're just trying to. He coaches at the high school level, and all these kids that we're working with, just trying to really reiterate controlling what you can control. Like during this weird, shutdown with the virus, how easy it would be for, we talked about the filtering process before, about how people just naturally, they pluck themselves out because of lack of effort, and not doing the little things. And right now there's so many excuses to not do the little things. There's so many good excuses that you could completely rationalize about why you wouldn't work hard, why you wouldn't do the strength training stuff, why you wouldn't eat right, why you wouldn't give your brain the right media, the right input so you can think better. There's a lot of people in this program with us that aren't watching right now, and they should be. Mm-hmm. It's just a natural. It's like the human condition that we kind of, some people choose the path of least resistance all the time versus choosing the path of most resistance. And it sounds like you've chosen kind of the path of most resistance most of your life, and it's gotten you to places that you probably maybe never even dreamed of. Like, did you ever dream you'd be in this position? Was it a dream? And now you're there. Like, are you kind of like, maybe you're not there yet, because I think where you want to be is probably big league, right?
Right.
So,
No,
but did you ever think you'd get here? Was it always a goal, a dream? Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I guess something that again, it goes back to like me growing up, and I believed in myself a lot. I believed whether I was bad at something that I could be really good at it or I could be great at it. So from the get-go, I believed that I could. I remember in third grade, I wrote like a paper, and it was about like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I put, I want to be a professional baseball player. And teacher was like C or whatever she gave me on it, like pick something more realistic. And that just like fired me up at third grade, just because it was like, why would I believe that I can do this? Like, there's no reason why I couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think it's not a surprise to me, because I believe that I could get here. I believe that I can still, I believe I can make it to the big leagues. I believe I can play years and years in the big leagues. So it doesn't surprise me, I guess, to an extent. I think that to be where I'm at now happened quicker than I thought it would. But like from high school, going back to that, from high school, I thought I was going to be a Division I baseball player, and it didn't happen. So then it was like, well, I just want to play college baseball, and then it started to not happen. And it was like, oh, I got an opportunity, and then all these things that I think are going to happen and I don't, and I think they're going to happen and I don't. But then they eventually, you said I took the path, the most resistance, but like some of that wasn't my choice. Some of it was, some of it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to get through it, I think that's something where you got to believe, like, I believe that I'm going to get there, just trusting that whatever I'm doing, working my butt off to do this, putting in all this work, eventually I'm going to get where I want to be. So I think that's something that really kind of, I guess, steered me to this place that I'm in now. No, it did. It went fast. I was, I went that low A season. I started off really bad, and my last 3 months I had like over 300. And then when I came in, I was like, I'm going to go to double A. Like, I'm going to double A. And I went to high A, and I was ticked. And then, but it wasn't, I probably should have went to high A. But in my head, I believe, like, you're a better player than that. You're a better player than this. You're a better player than this. And so I don't think I'll ever be surprised. I think my goal is to play professional baseball, to get drafted, and it happened. But then immediately my goal changed to, I want to be in low A next year. And then I got there, and then it changed to, I want to be, I think if, my goal is I want to play professional baseball or big league baseball. I want to get to the big leagues. And I think even when I get there, I still don't think that I'll be satisfied. I just don't think that's the type of person I am. I'll still find something to nitpick about. I'll still find something to get mad about, or to, I'll probably if I get to the big leagues, I'll get there and I'll be like, man, now I got to get to arbitration. And I get to, oh man, now I got to get that second contract. Oh man, now I got to get that 10-year. Like, I'm going to do that. And so I know whenever my baseball career is going to be over, I still won't be satisfied. It's just kind of the type of person I think that I am. I think after it's all said and done, I'll sit back and I'll kind of go through everything that I did, I guess, through my career, and I'll probably be happy with some of the things, but I know there'll still be things that
Sure.
I didn't get to, or goals that I didn't reach.
Yeah. It almost sounds like, so we're reading this book right now to all the kids called Chop Wood, Carry Water. Have you ever read that by chance?
I have not, but I heard about it. I heard about it a lot through the minor league system. I've heard a lot of coaches talk about it as well.
Yeah. I think you'd love it because you're kind of a testament to it. Like controlling the controllables, there's certain things that are outside of your control, whether you got drafted or didn't, whether you had a coach that you had a good relationship or didn't, those are some things that you can't control. But what it seems that you've done an incredible job of is just not letting those things sidetrack you, and you just continue to do your best, do your best, do your best, do your best, and let everything else fall by the wayside, because it's essentially a wasted energy. You can't control those things. So that's one thing that is a recurring theme in that book, and we're hoping that is getting through to all the kids that are have a hard time focusing on what they can control and these external things that they really can't, and it weighs on them, and it affects their performance. And there's another thing I was going to say too about the book that you exemplify. everybody wants to be great until it's time to do what greatness requires. So everyone wants to be a big league baseball player. Everyone wants to be an NHL hockey player or whatever sport that that they love to play. But doing what it takes to get to that level requires a ton of persistence, a ton of hard work. There's very few people that are just God-given ability and they're that lefty that throws 100 and, and they just get there.
Right.
But that's what so many, I think kids get, they have an impression that it's this glamorous existence, that it didn't take the 140 game schedule in the minors and rice and beans and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and sleeping in a dungeon and, but how does a high school kid or even a middle school kid take that away, take those lessons that you've gone through and apply it to their current situation? And it's just to continue to grind and do your best every single day in the classroom. I got a question as I'm talking about, as I'm ranting here. Who do you hang around, Mason? Like, associations are so powerful. Certainly when you're really impressionable in those teenage years, really, really important time frame to really manage who you're around. But it never leaves, that lesson never leaves. So like maybe kind of take us through who you've always kind of hung around, maybe from high school to college to the pros and how that's impacted where you're at.
So I guess from this, to go back on what you were saying real quick, the one thing that I think is hard to go back to accept is like you can do all of those things right, and like you still might not make it. That's like something that like I had to come to acceptance. Like as long as I'm doing my full capability, like the full effort, I'm doing everything that I possibly can. If I don't make it, I don't make it. But I know that I did everything that I possibly could, and it just wasn't in the cards for me. So I just wanted to touch on that because people think like I'm going to do all this, and I'm going to make it. But not necessarily. You could still not make it, but you're going to be a better person because of it. So then back to what you were saying about the friend group. So I was a 3-sport athlete, varsity, for 3 of my 4 years or 4 of my 4 years. And I wanted to be the guy, so I was the guy on all 3 teams. But I didn't hang out with, I guess per se, those popular. I had my one. I had a group of friends, but I had one really good friend that I met in 8th grade, and we clicked. And that was like my one guy that I trusted, I guess you could say. I trusted the other friends, but I didn't like open up. I didn't like I got to know everybody, but I didn't like feed them my whole life story like this other kid. So me and him clicked really, really well. I was friends. I talked to everybody. I was very friendly to everybody. I had no enemies, grade school, no enemies in high school. I think that carried over too. I was never mean to anybody. And then I get to high school and, it's easy. You might have to partner with somebody that you don't think you would ever hang out with, but you talked to them. You at least got to know them a little bit. And it kind of helped me shape, I guess, how I knew everybody. Nobody had anything against me. I didn't have anything against them, but I really only had that 1-2 really good friends. And to this day, I think out of all of my grade school and high school people that I've talked to, I have that same friend. That was one of the best men in my wedding. That was it through all high school, through all the crap that went on, all the stuff that goes on, all the drama. Like I have that one friend that I had the entire time, and that was it. And then in college, it's kind of the same deal. I was on, college baseball team, and I had my roommate who I got really, really close to. I had 2 other roommates I was really close to, but there was that one guy that I clicked with, I trusted, and then same thing with him. I mean, I had friends, I had the whole baseball team, but I really only spent a lot of my time with that guy, and he was the other best man at my wedding. So I think even the people I hang out with now, they all have the same characteristics. Like they never met each other, and they all came. And I met a couple guys from minor league baseball that were in my wedding as well. And they all came to my house not knowing each other. And we went out and had a good time, and they all clicked because they all have similar qualities, which is something that I feel like I look for. I look for in my friends or people that I try to hang out with. But I wouldn't say that. I guess I had a really, really good best friend, but I would consider like all the teammates, all the people that I was in classes with, I would consider, I guess, my friends per se. Like I had nothing against them. I got to know them little by little, maybe not a lot, but at least I knew some of them. I guess if that answers your question.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. Those guys that you let, let's call it your inner circle, your inner circle. What attributes, do they have that you kind of keep them there, versus what are some people that you would kind of keep at bay? You'd manage how much time you spent around them because maybe they weren't, the best influence on you.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of speak to that.
I think I'm a drama free kind of guy. Drama free, like, so if there's people that are talking about, if I'm hanging out with a bunch of people and there's people talking about somebody else and like that, that's kind of people that I don't really want to associate myself with, just because you might not say anything, but if you're associated with them and then something comes out, it's like, oh, well, he was there too, or something like that. I want to argue. I like arguing. I think that's one of the best ways to obtain information and to retain it is to argue. And in my opinion. So like if I want to talk to you guys and I want to discuss something and I want to argue with you, I guarantee you at the end of the conversation, I will learn and I will obtain and retain all that information we just talked about because we got an argument. So I look for guys I can argue with. All those guys I have argued with multiple times, but there's no, like, we never have any, it's always about something, the radio or something stupid like that, where it's like an argument, we get the point across and we both like learn from it, I guess. I'm trying to think of what else, because those are like the main two.
Okay.
Big
Do
ones.
you find that inner circle though, that they have your back, they support you, they encourage you, they bring out the best, like they don't allow you to slack off, they don't, you know what I mean? Like they might not be in the same, some of your boys, they might not be playing pro ball anymore, but are they like, speaking life into Mason and making sure that Mason remembers who he is and his goal, versus maybe having some people that could be like, there's a story in this Chop Would Carry Water about crabs. If you put one crab in a bucket, it'll climb out, but if you put a whole bunch of crabs in a bucket, no crabs are getting out, because anytime a crab tries to crawl out of this bucket, the other crabs are gonna pull them right back down.
Yeah.
And eventually the crabs just stop trying. So that's, because I just feel like that's such an important lesson that I'm sure that you've learned, otherwise you wouldn't have got this far. And just kids, I know it can really be a trying time in their life if they allow the wrong influences too close, they become that crab life. They're going to get pulled down. Have you ever been around a person like that tried to pull you down? Is that where you stiff arm them and say, look, you got to stay out here, you can't be hanging around me that often?
For sure. There's lots of people that, everybody's met in their lives. Baseball players, I spend, there's 40 kids on a team. I spend 200, 300 days with those kids. There's lots and lots of those people who complainers. If you hang out with people who complain, you'll find yourself complaining. You'll find yourself making excuses. I'm trying to think of the saying. It's like basically if like my wife comes home and she's in a horrible mood, I'm going to be in a horrible mood just because she's in one. So that's something else I try to avoid, is those people who are constantly complaining, there's something wrong, I hate my job, like stuff like that, I guess. But I think all the similarity, or I guess differences, is they all push me in like different aspects of my life. I got my group of really, really close baseball friends that will constantly talk trash to me in games, constantly like be harping on me, and it just pushes me to be like that person. You know, the friend that I know from 8th grade, he knows like everything about my life, like every aspect. He's been in my life for so long that he can push me in those aspects of life, in like a relationship, and like a um, taxes, like stuff like financial that goes on, like, you know, every day. He's in my hometown. These other kids are not. So there's like different friends that I guess push me in different aspects of my life, but none in the negative. And if they are, we all have that relationship where like, I'm a big, if I have a problem with you, I'll tell you. I'm going to tell you like, you're irritating me because of this. And you should be a big enough person to say, I get what you're saying, like accept it. Because if, you know, if my wife comes down, she comes down and says like, I'm annoying her, I'm talking super loud, I'm chewing my mouth full. I can't just make an excuse, be like, oh no, like you're overreacting. Now I got to accept it. And I think that's a bad example, but I think that's kind of like what we all have in common, is like, if he could tell me whatever he possibly wants, and if we get in an argument, that's why we never will always be friends, like forever. Because if I do something to irritate him that bad, or if I'm disrespect him in some sort of way, it doesn't get pushed off to the side. He tells me to my face, we get it out in the open, and then we heal or get over it, and then the relationship's right back to where it was. So that's something big that I think all of them do.
Yeah, it's just a sign of good people around you, man. You know, and I just, you know, it seems like an insignificant thing, but it is. You know, I can, you know, tell stories of good kids that have a good. And this is, I don't say this in a judgment way, but like, I've times in my life where I had some really good people around me, and there's some times where I allowed some not so good associations into my life, and it really hindered where I wanted to go. So that's just, you know, lesson that I know you've learned, that just making sure that the audience, you know, is like, pay attention, kids. You're putting it on a silver platter for you right here.
I think some of that's trial and error too. I think like I learned my lesson. I mean, I didn't have it all peachy the whole time. Like I did the same thing. I got into a group of friends that I had no business being a part of. I had no business being a part of what they were doing as well. And it was like an eye-opening experience where it's like, yeah, these are my friends, but I need to make this decision for myself and see like how is this going to turn out for me? And that, you know, everybody, you're going to have an experience sometime. I have a 13-year-old brother. Like I've tried having conversations with him about it. Like he's going to have the opportunity where he's going to get into a group of friends, which he's already has had this happen before. And then something bad is going to happen, or they're going to be a part of something that you shouldn't be in. And he's going to come to the realization that like, these aren't the people for me. But it's having that, I guess it's, you could say courage or bravery or whatever, to be able to, hey, this isn't for me. I got to step away from this, whether I lose friends or not.
Yeah. That's a really good point. You're right. No one can be sheltered from that.
No.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It doesn't. You can go to the best private school in the world, and it's going to be there. It's going to be there too. So,
yeah, no, those, you know, like you said, you have that one person in your life, like to the kids, find that person in your life and hang on to them, you know, hang on to them, because they're important. Like you going through your journey, I'm sure you fall back on your buddy. You know, you call him when you need to vent, or, you know, stuff like that. So if you know, find that person and hang on to them. You know, when you were because I too, I got into you know, things I shouldn't, and was it your end goal that kind of kept you on track? I know for me, like I kind of just like woke up one day and is like, this is where I want to be, and this is where I'm heading. I got to get back on track here, and I need to kick that out of my life. Was that kind of something that fueled you as well to, you know, I wouldn't say you were off track, but to kind of guide you back to that place?
For sure. I never really, like you said, I never like veered too far off.
Yep.
I didn't do anything, but I did when I got to be like a junior, senior, mostly junior year, where I was like really trying to play college baseball.
Yeah.
That's where people started getting into drinking, people started to, all that stuff, smoking, and then it was kind of all those popular kids. I say popular because really it's like the kids that just do things they're not supposed to. And they're like, hey, like we're going to have this party, blah blah blah, and I would have to, I got a game the next morning. No, and it was so like hard headed on myself, or not hard. I guess it was, you could say stubborn, but it was more of like goal focused, where it was like I could go to them and be like, I don't want to go. I have a baseball game tomorrow. I got to perform.
Yep.
And it was, they don't care. They might run their, they might say like, blah blah blah, run their mouth for like a second, but like ultimately they don't care. They're not worried about you being there. Worried about like the party going on. They don't care about anything else. So that was something that I always was focused on, like game, practice. I was always like, practice how you play. I would not show up to practice, even now that I'm able to drink, I'm able to go out and have a good time and all that stuff. I mean, there's kids who go out every other day. And because I set that in place from the get-go, I will never – the only time I'll go out and have a good time is if I have an off day the next day and there's no game and there's no practice. But even if there was practice, in college I was able to drink too. Even if there was practice, I would never go drink, show up the next day and be hungover or do something, stay up really, really late and then show up the next day because I'm not going to perform.
Right. Yeah.
I try to go to sleep at the same time. I try to wake up at the same time. I don't try to oversleep and do all that stuff because you got to get into routine. And in order for your body to feel good, you can't feel really, really good one day, go get messed up one day, do something stupid, stay up really late, wake up the next day for a double header and think you're going to play good. It's not going to happen. And that goes back to, I guess, your priorities and what you want to do with your life.
Yeah. Absolutely. And just like staying structured, staying engaged. When people have too much time, it provides more opportunities for negative things to come in and fill that space, so that's why we're always encouraging kids to be multi-sport athletes, not just to make them better athletes, because we believe that as my son just comes in here on his rollerblades and falls.
All right, Brooksy.
But play multiple sports, but have structure, because you could easily fall into some of those camps where, well, I don't have that tomorrow. It doesn't. You lack responsibility, and when you have a responsibility to your teammates, to your coaches, to give your best, I like to think most people would do the right thing. It
goes back to accountability too. I mean, that's what essentially what you said, accountability. And that's like, this is why this is so hard, is because you don't have anything to do. Like you don't have to go to your work. You can't play baseball. And so that's what I'm trying to, like my brother, 13, I want to use him as an example again, because I'm trying to get him, I don't have anything to do, like nothing, but I'm going to get up at 8:30 every day. I'm going to go to sleep by 11 o'clock every night or 10:30, not because I have to, but because I want to stay in a routine. I want to be accountable to myself to have that whole day of, I can do things in this time. I can get things done. It's easy to go to sleep at 2 o'clock, wake up at noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and just sit around and watch TV or play video games, and you get nothing done. You got no benefit from that day. And that's what I'm trying to get my brother, who's 13. He has nobody that lives by him, like friends. So he goes to sleep really late playing video games, wakes up at like 11, sits around, does nothing, and he's not getting any better at anything. And so I'm like dragging him everywhere I go, like whether it's doing yard work, like I had him knock down one of my fences just because I needed him to get out of the house and do something. But I think that makes you better. And I think that's where sports like creates that accountability, that self-awareness, where you've gotten into a routine for so long that you're able to tell yourself, I can get up at 8 o'clock every day. Easy. I've gotten up for games. I can do it every day, whether I have to or not. And you'll see that you're going to be a better person for it.
Yeah. I mean, believe it or not, I know you believe it, but there's some people that would argue it, but like, this is one of the greatest moments in time, in history, for someone to get better at something. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm all in on that.
I mean,
Something you would never do. You
Right.
could do something you would never ever do. I loved woodworking, but I never had time to do it. And it was freezing cold when I got home. Well, now I'm here. I can do stuff. I'll never have to take care of my lawn because I'll be gone all summer. What am I trying to learn? I'm trying to learn about grass. Like, I'm trying to learn about things like that because I think it's just something I could add to myself. I'd add to my bag, add to the person who I am.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. You can learn stuff every day. That's what I try to do is, I don't know if you've ever seen the Matthew McConaughey speech when he talks about like, who do you look up to or who's your role model? And he says like, I thought about it. And he says, it's me in 10 years. I don't know if you've ever seen that. So like I had to do like a speech for our minor league thing where I had to stand up and talk about this. And like how that impacted me, I guess you could say, is like, it goes back to never being satisfied, but it's like, who am I trying to be in 10 years? So then in my opinion, like in how I work is every night when I lay down to go to sleep, I think about what did I do today to better myself as a player or a person. And you're not getting any better as a player right now. Like if you do, I mean, yeah, you're out there working out, that's fine. But like, what did you do better as a person today to better yourself for like the future?
Mm-hmm.
And so like, I talked about this big spiel on that speech and like how I implemented it into my life and how I've seen like a greater, like how I'm so much better as a person now than I was 10 years ago, or than I was like, even like a year ago. Like in 1 year, if you did that, you would see yourself, you learn so much new information, you can obtain so much new information. That was something that like just transformed me. And I told that to all the minor league guys and they were like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to try that. But this is like perfect time to do that.
Yeah. Yep. And that's awesome because your value, you know, as awesome as you are at baseball, Mason, you know, your value is far beyond baseball skill, you know, and so many athletes struggle with that. I know I did. That when I was done, when sports were done for me, like that's who I was, you know. So I think that's an awesome lesson that people can take away from what you're doing is just becoming a better person, because someday it is going to be gone. And then who are you? Well, I'm all these other things too. It's like I heard a sermon one time, TD Jakes, where he's talking about something about a comma. You know how after your name, like it could be Mason McCoy, Major League Baseball player, comma, woodworker, comma, lawn artist. But the point was, keep putting commas there, because just keep getting good at stuff, and it'll make your life a rich life. Because, you know, take a lesson from all the people down on their deathbed when they look back at their life, all the things that they wish they would have done versus all the things they wasted time doing. You know, like kids playing video games right now. It's okay to play some. You know, admittedly I'm anti. Okay, I'm anti, but I realize some kids are going to play some. But at the end of your life, you'll never go, man, I wish I would have played more Fortnite. Oh, to have 3 more hours.
Yeah. Right.
You'll never say those things. And, you know, if you can begin with the end in mind and kind of go, okay, what really matters? These are the things I'm going to spend my time doing in my life, you know?
No, I'm all in on that. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. Just any aspect. It doesn't have to do, I mean, it has to do with anything. I've always loved woodworking. So like, that's why I wanted to do stuff like that. My dad is really, really handy. And I remember we had to do a project one time in high school, and he was like, can you hand me this wrench or whatever? I remember exactly what it was. And I was like, he's like, are you serious? You're my son. You don't even know what that is. And then now it's like, we're out here building bars out of reclaimed wood and stuff like that, because yes, he taught me a ton of stuff, but it was me being willing to learn to go out there and do it, or doing stuff on my own, which goes back to baseball, which, you know, doing stuff on your own is how you get better, being your own coach.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like anything and everything you can get better at. That's just what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. You do some great lessons. Sounds like you're taking advantage of, an unfortunate, time in your life. Sounds like you're really taking advantage of it. So pretty great.
Trying to.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's all that matters.
Well, hey, Mason, we're, over an hour into this thing, but man, I just appreciate you spending time with us, and especially, it just says a lot about who you are as a human, that's spending an hour on a Sunday with a bunch of kids that you've never met outside of, the Welches, and two guys you've never met. I know I took away a lot of value. I know Ryan did too.
Absolutely.
So I tell you what, I got a new guy to be rooting for when the season opens back up, man. I'm going to buy myself a Mason McCoy jersey if I can find one. And I'll be pulling for you, man. I know Ryan will too, and all these kids will be pulling for you, dude.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys having me on here too. I'm going to do it again too. If you guys ever have any more questions or anything else you want to talk about, I'm down to do it.
Sounds awesome, man.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Good luck with everything. We really appreciate you coming on again, and hope the kids take advantage of watching this, because there's a lot of value in this.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Have a good rest of your Sunday, Mason.
You too. See ya.
Bye, Miss.
See ya.
Love you.
Love you.